Hello, welcome to the Daily News Ukraine channel. Today is February 27th and our daily review of news about Ukraine. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has triggered the most massive violations of human rights we are living through. Today, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said Monday. That's according to CNN, Ukrinform reports. It has unleashed widespread death, destruction and displacement, Guterres said. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has documented dozens of cases of conflict-related sexual violence against men, women and girls, the top UN official added. Guterres spoke at the UN Human Rights Council's meeting in Geneva, commemorating the 75-year anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Read also, Lubyanets, Russia illegally holds 180 political prisoners, most of them Crimean Tatars. He called on governments to respect and revitalize the declaration, which he said is often misused and abused. In the rights group's annual report, it said that evidence of war crimes in Bucha, a suburb of Kiev, were part of a pattern that has been repeated countless times. As Ukrinform reported earlier, the annual session of the UN Human Rights Council started in Geneva on Monday, February 27, with the investigation of war crimes committed by the Russian army in Ukraine on the top agenda. About 150 heads of state and government, including representatives of the USA, China, Ukraine, and Iran, are expected to speak. Read also, Kuleba presents at UN resolution draft on principles of just, lasting peace in Ukraine. Last week, hearings were held in New York at the UN headquarters regarding gross violations of human rights caused by Russian aggression against Ukraine. First Lady Alina Zelenska, speaking at the UN, called for the creation of a tribunal to investigate Russian crimes in Ukraine and hold criminals accountable for human rights violations, murder, and violence. The government of Kazakhstan decided to liquidate the country's trade representative office in Russia. This is reported by Zakon.kz with reference to the relevant document, Ukrinform saw. The state institution trade representation of the Republic of Kazakhstan in the Russian Federation under the Ministry of Trade and Integration of the Republic of Kazakhstan shall be liquidated, reads the resolution of February 22. The resolution is effective immediately. The Ministry of Trade explained the move by claiming that office's tasks have already been completed. Therefore, as part of optimization, its employees will be deployed in other countries. Read also, Russians would support war in Kazakhstan. Baltic states polled. The ministry noted that this decision will not affect the functioning of the Russian trade representation in Kazakhstan or development of bilateral trade and economic cooperation in general, adding that the Russian Federation remains Kazakhstan's main trade and economic partner. Kazakhstan and Russia signed an agreement on the establishment of trade representative offices in October 1992. Kazakhstan ratified the deal in 2012. The Trade Representative Office has been helping Kazakh exporters enter the Russian market and attract foreign investments to the republic. Earlier, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mukhtar Tliberdi, said Kazakhstan would not join international sanctions against Russia in connection with the full-scale war that Moscow had unleashed against Ukraine. He added, however, that the country has no intention of helping Russia circumvent the existing restrictions. In the temporarily occupied Mariupol and nearby villages, the active movement of Russian military equipment and the arrival of newly mobilized forces are being recorded. That's according to Petro Andriushenko, the advisor to the Mariupol mayor in exile, Ukrinform reports. Military update: the movement of military equipment changed directions again. Now the main route is Zaporizhia, Palahi, Mariupol toward Mariupol. In the area of the village of Nikolsky, there's a change of traffic toward Volnovakha/Volodar. On Sunday, the movement of the S-300/S-400 anti-aircraft system, self-propelled guns, and at least 16 tanks on tractor-trailers was recorded. Through Mariupol in the direction of Manhush/Berdyansk drove at least 10 trucks with manpower coming directly from Russia/temporarily occupied Novozovsk, Andriushenko wrote on Telegram, posting a number of photos shot by eyewitnesses. Read also, Russia concerned about explosions in Mariupol. UK intel. He also noted that Russia brought newly mobilized troops back to the littoral area of the Mariupol district, the village of Yalta/the village of Urzov. Exercises were resumed at the training ground near the village of Babakh. As reported, Russia's aggression caused a major humanitarian disaster in Mariupol. Almost 90% of the city was wiped out as a result of enemy shelling. Currently, more than 100,000 residents remain in the city temporarily captured by the Russians. Last year, Ukraine unblocked political decisions on 6 out of 7 types of weapons needed by the armed forces. This was reported by Minister for Foreign Affairs Dmytro Kuleba on Twitter, as seen by Ukrinform. Every discussion about supplying Ukraine with a new, crucial kind of weapon started with a no and ended with a yes. In the last year, we have unlocked political decisions on 6 of the 7 types of game-changer weapons. The only one left is combat aircraft, Kuleba tweeted. Read also, ISW convinced of Ukraine's victory. Kuleba, as reported by Ukrinform, President Volodymyr Zelensky, in an address to British MPs in Westminster Hall, called on Great Britain and the international community to create an aircraft coalition to provide Ukraine with combat aircraft to defend against the Russian aggressor. Photo, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Fighters with the newly formed Assault Guard of the Interior Ministry will perform a variety of tasks, including assault missions, purge operations, and liberation of territories. That's according to the press officer of the Chervona Kalina Brigade, National Guard, Mykola Koval, who spoke on the air of Kyiv TV, and Ukrinform correspondent reports. Speaking of assault brigades, they will have various tasks. These tasks will come from higher command. They can be used for both the assault, purge, and liberation of territories. The tasks will be diverse, but we work together with the armed forces and conduct combat operations jointly with them, on the same frontiers, Koval said. Read also, Zelensky on Crimea's recapture. We are preparing for this. As reported, on February 2, the Ministry of Internal Affairs announced the formation of Assault Guard brigades and offered volunteers to sign in. The core of these units will consist of active-duty police officers, border guards, and National Guardsmen. Citizens are welcome to apply for admission through the website, hotline, or district centers for administrative services. A rescuer who was injured in a nighttime drone attack on Khmelnytskyi has died in the hospital. Serhiy Khmelnytskyi, head of the Khmelnytskyi Regional Military Administration, reported this on the Telegram messaging app, according to Ukrinform. Unfortunately, we have another death in the hospital. The doctors could not save the life of another hero, a rescuer, Khmelnytskyi said. He extended his condolences to the loved ones of the victims. It was reported earlier that a rescuer had been killed in a nighttime drone attack on Khmelnytskyi. Khmelnytskyi said earlier that 3 of the 4 people injured in the drone attack on Khmelnytskyi were in serious condition. China has always maintained communication with all sides in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, including Kyiv. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said this at a briefing on Monday, commenting on the possibility of a meeting between Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, according to Reuters. China's position on the Ukraine crisis is consistent and very clear, she said. The core is to call for peace and promote dialogue and promote a political solution to the crisis. We have always maintained communication with the sides involved including Ukraine, Mao said. On February 24 at a press conference in Kyiv, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he planned to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. On the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Chinese Foreign Ministry published its position on the political settlement of the Ukraine crisis. The document consists of 12 points. President Volodymyr Zelensky said he did not like all the points of China's peace plan, adding that we can work with some of them. Billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman has pledged $3.25 million to help buy more than a dozen ambulances for Ukraine as it defends itself against Russia's invasion. That's according to Reuters, which refers to an email from investor Whitney Tilson, who is on the advisory board of Ackman's charity, Pershing Square Foundation, to his friends and professional contacts, Ukrinform reports. I had breakfast with my college buddy Bill Ackman this morning, walked him through the attached slide deck I put together about my Ambulances for Ukraine mission, and on the spot he agreed to donate $3.25 million, Tilson wrote in the email, dated February 25. Tilson has been leading an effort to buy ambulances for Ukraine that will be operated by humanitarian aid group MOAS, Migrant Offshore Aid Station, which is based in Malta. Ackman's donation will cover the purchase of 15 specially equipped Toyota 4x4 Land Cruiser ambulances and the costs of operating them on the front lines. The Land Cruisers cost roughly $116,000 each and come with an extended roof that let medical personnel stand up as they treat patients. Ackman, whose great-grandfather emigrated to the United States from Ukraine, has an estimated net worth of $3.5 billion, according to Forbes. Ackman and his wife, Neri Oxman, have pledged to give away the majority of their fortune and have supported causes ranging from medical research to relief to earthquake-stricken Haiti to Harvard University's crew team. Russian forces have struck the settlements of Myrnohrad and Avdiivka in the Donetsk region, damaging houses, a stadium, a store, and a kindergarten in the region. According to Ukrinform, Donetsk Regional Governor Pavlo Kirilenko said this in a Telegram post and published photos of the destruction. Script async src equals https://telegram.org/js/telegram widget.js 21 data telegram post equals Pavlo Kirilenko _nota /6893 data width equals 100% script Myrnohrad was hit by 2 missiles. According to preliminary information, the Russians used S-300 missiles. They damaged 4 private houses and a stadium. According to preliminary data, there are no casualties. There were isolated hits in Avdiivka overnight, and in the morning, there were 2 massive shelling attacks on residential and industrial zones, Kirilenko wrote. He noted that Volodar, Novokranka, and Bohoyavlenka had come under fire in the Volnovakha area. In the Donetsk sector, enemy forces shelled the Kurakov territorial community, injuring 1 person and damaging 4 houses in Hernik, damaging a house and a shop in Hostray, and damaging a house in Kurakivka. Shelling was also recorded last night in the Marinka and Okeratine communities, and in the Lysychansk sector, there was shelling of Siversk and the outskirts of the community. In the Horlivka area, 1 person was injured and 3 houses were damaged in Koshtantinivka, another house was damaged in Predtekine. In Bakhmut, 9 apartment buildings and kindergartens were damaged throughout the day. 6 houses were damaged in Vasyukivka of the Soldar territorial community, Kirilenko said. Photo credit, Pavlo Kirilenko, Telegram. 3 of the 4 people injured in a nighttime drone attack on Khmelnytskyi are in serious condition. Serhiy Khmelnytskyi, head of the Khmelnytskyi Regional Military Administration, said this in a post on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. As a result of nighttime strikes on Khmelnytskyi, 4 injured people were taken to the hospital. 3 of them are in a serious condition, but their lives are no longer in danger, Khmelnytskyi said. He added that 1 victim had been discharged from hospital for outpatient treatment. Earlier reports said that 1 person had been killed and 4 others injured in Khmelnytskyi following a nighttime enemy drone attack. Today we were talking about those news. Russia's invasion triggers most massive violations of human rights, UN chief. Kazakhstan shuts trade representation in Russia. Movement of Russian tanks, howitzers spotted in Mariupol. Political decisions on 6 out of 7 types of weapons for Ukraine unblocked, Kuleba. Assault guard to be tasked with purge, liberation of occupied territories. 1 more rescuer injured in Khmelnytskyi drone attack dies in hospital. China has always maintained contact with all sides, including Ukraine Foreign Ministry. Billionaire Ackman donates $3.25 million for ambulances in Ukraine. Reuters. Invaders strike Myrnohrad, Avdiivka in Donetsk region. Russian drone attack on Khmelnytskyi, 3 injured in serious condition.